for Kentucky. Once again, having a terrible hair day. Let's get rid of those for now. The glare on those is problematic for me. So I'm going to trust that since the setup's been working fine for audio for the last few streams, that hopefully we will not have a problem. If you guys are hearing me, message in the comments. And once again, we are live at 9. Which is the only name I've been able to come up with this little segment I do every week, or at least that we're trying to do every week as time permits. Now, I shouldn't have taken the glasses off. I realize I've got a list of topics tonight. So rather than just spout nonsense off the top of my head like I usually do, taking and talking about whatever I felt like, there were a few things I specifically wanted to speak about tonight. We're going to be talking about human art. We're going to be talking about a conversation I had with a 48-year-old graphic design art student, and then also going to talk about some conversations that I had with artists today, specifically with Damian Torres and Alexia Veldhausen. Really two really fantastic artists. It's been my pleasure to work with. We're also going to be talking about a few other things here and there. Specifically, we're going to touch base on a little bit of a controversial subject tonight, that being unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns. And I'm not really wanting to pick on anybody, so we're not going to call out any particular creator on that. We are going to really... Oh, it looks like it didn't bring my title over here. So let's go ahead and get that in there. Hold on a second. Well, talking about human art conversations with graphic art design student. All the fun you can have when I don't really know a lot about streaming, right? My meetings with artists today, and a few words on unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns. Okay, so now that I've fixed that nonsense, that means that's probably bad on the other site as well. So we will fix that too. Sorry about that, guys. I did not expect that to not work. Obvious, right? But, I don't claim to be a real streamer yet. Yes, Pinocchio-san, I'm not a real boy, as it were, right? Oh, shit. Pardon me. It's one of those things where you're just like, man, eventually I'll get it right? Eventually I'll get it right. But we'll see. Get this in here. All right, that should be good. Cool, groovy. There we go. Now, the other thing we're going to do tonight, too, I'm going to be posting a link in the chat. And since it probably isn't going to come over correctly, I'm going to go ahead and post that in the posts on X as well as on YouTube. And what this link I'm posting is, we're going to do a mystery box kind of thing today with 3 art prints. Caveat, all human made, because as was brought up today, we kind of start clarifying that. I'll see here. We're going to do $25 and free shipping in the U.S. The next thing that we're going to do tonight, so people, little mystery box art print, a photo mailer, a 13x8 photo mailer, directly to you, and now that is in the chat. Okay, cool deal. Excellent. All right, now that nonsense is over, let's get back to talking on our subject, shall we? And we have our first viewer tonight. Welcome to welcome to Live at Nine's which is the only title I have for this right now. So thanks for kicking around with this. Tonight's subjects, as we were talking about, we're going to talk about human-made art and some conversations I've had recently, and we're going to kick off today with that. All right. So for everyone who's watching on YouTube, on X, anyone who sees this subsequently, please do feel free to comment. And if you like what we're doing here, share it with others. And yes, feel free to make fun of my hair because I'm having a horrible hair day today, and nothing is going to change that. So, all right, about human art. So I was having a conversation with a lady today. She is a graphic design art student at university right now, and she was joining me in a little conversation where we were talking about a lot of the problems with her field of study. She's going to be graduating this year, and the proliferation, Lord, English is hard sometimes, of AI generated images in graphic design. You will actually see, or at least I see, these ads on YouTube as well as on X/Twitter, on Facebook, all over the internet, really, as far as where I haunt, talking about, get your logo designed for free when you use our service and our AI design tools or whatever nonsense they're spouting. We have our two real logos. We have the simple foxhead logo that you see here by Alexia Veldhausen, and then we have another larger, more graphically ornate logo, which is a fox with footprints through the snow and the Sonoma Publishing company name below it. Both are in use. Both are trademarked. Both were generated by human artists who were paid for the job. The key point of this part of this conversation is that this particular lady, she has some what I think are very valid concerns regarding future prospects because she's going to be greater, and then she has the experience ahead of her of looking for work as a graphics designer, graphic arts designer, however title you may. Good Lord, this is terrible. Tell you what we're gonna do. We're going to cheat it like I'm doing dishes. So bear with me a second, guys. We'll go ahead and get this up out of my way. Anyway, her concerns, like I said, I think are valid. There's open, blatant services that are putting out there that they will design your logo or your whatever for free. There's places that are putting together like stickers or different merchandise like t-shirts and stuff. Oh, you have an idea but you don't have an artist? Well, go ahead and shoot us your idea and our AI will generate it for you. The mind just freaking boggles. It really does. I get it if money is your priority. And I mean, I guess that's a shame to say that money is often people's lead priority. But I think that for our society to really function, we have to accept that money can't be the only goal, right? My father, may he rest in peace, who passed last year, he used to say that I was a terrible capitalist, that I was just not good at it. That, yeah, you're making money, but you could make more if you charged more and you were paying people less. My arguments, and don't get me wrong, we weren't arguing, we were making counterpoints to one another. My argument is that if I'm making X number of sales at the price point I'm selling at, I'm probably not going to make many more sales charging another 10 or 5 or whatever I'm charging, right? And that I like and am really very well satisfied with the work the artists I commission are performing. So why would I inconvenience them by paying them less, especially if I'm already profitable? The thing that I reminded my father of, the thing that I've reminded people who've brought this up, I've had people who have made there a point to get on my case a little bit and say, "Well, you're not even making a living." I'm like, "I understand that. I have a day job. That's where I make my living. I'm building Sinopa to leave to the kids. So I want a legacy of treating the people we work with fairly." And that's one of the reasons why this whole thing with these companies, they're saying, "Hey, we'll get you a free AI art image that you can put on your sticker or your t-shirt or your mug or whatever," just really just stinks in my opinion. Um I have partnered with artists before on royalty based deals. And then being unsatisfied with those, we've moved to years ago, really, many, many years ago, we moved to buying all the art we use outright, right? Exceptions here and there. We've had some people who have donated stuff to things. And then of course Dungeons and Dames was all creator owned. So that was a benefit those two books, where I should say, were a benefit project. Um, and that's fine, right? That's a fine exception. But when you get to where you're actively cutting out the humans out of the arts, it just it makes me wonder if there's even a point anymore. And I mean, in the commercialization. So someone once said that business should compete against each other to deliver goods at the highest quality possible, at the best, most affordable prices possible, while paying the highest wages possible. I don't remember precisely who said that. It may have been Ford. I don't know. But when you knock those three tenets out of alignment, when you charge way higher prices than are necessary, when you undercut your pay so that your employees are suffering from unsustainable pay rates that is just too low for them to live on, you force people into a position where I think most of us are at already and have been for years, where you're not making enough money at your chosen profession to really satisfy your needs, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I cannot, in good conscience, tell you that I pay people enough to satisfy their standard of living. That would be incredibly disingenuous of me. I pay the best wages I can. Some people say I pay pretty well. Some people say that, well, I make more money when I do pieces for Marvel. I'm like, well, okay. I don't have Marvel money. I don't have Disney behind me. Although honestly, I don't think I'd want Disney behind me. I no telling what might happen if they were behind you. And for the Disney lawyers who don't like that, I'm just adding my personal opinion. Stuff it. So I feel for this lady. I do. Um, I told her that I think that as human artists, human authors, I one of the things that we can best do to help generate an income for ourselves is to work for ourselves, is to make the who we got? We got Dingus Den. Hey man, how's it going, bro? Guys, if you haven't checked out Dingus Den on YouTube, definitely check him out. Hey, can you go ahead and drop your link into the chat so people can see you? I think folks would love to see you and your commentary, man. That's pretty good stuff. And on this channel, we love Warren, Lunchbox Warren. Everybody, he's a wonderful talent, and he often partners up with Dingus for videos. So definitely, yeah, I'm feeling a lot better. Been recovering pretty nicely. We had some health issues. Injured my shoulder. I had to dental surgery, the whole nine. It's been a weird month. Um, by the way, Dingus, we're doing a mystery box kind of thing tonight. The first time I've ever done one of these things on a stream. We're going to be there's a link at the top of the chat for a payment through PayPal, $25 for three 11 by 17 art prints. We'll go ahead and put those in there if you want. Yeah, is he live right now too? Oh hell yeah! I didn't know he was live right now. I'll have to make sure I see him after I get off of here because I think he's actually going longer than I do. I usually only go for about an hour. Although I will tell you this, I had someone comment to me today. It's like they try to tune in and catch me, but they usually catch and suggested that I start streaming more days in the week. I don't know if I can really do that, but I'm going to consider it. But yeah, if you want to participate in like the mystery box thing, just go ahead and use that. The PayPal should prompt for your delivery address, and we're going to get everything packaged up for anyone who buys them and ship them out when the post office opens on Tuesday. So everyone should get them pretty freaking quickly. And all human made, of course, like all of our stuff. Now, saying about the graphics design. Yeah, his usually go for a few beautiful pieces on his streams lately. That's for sure. But I was telling the graphics design art student lady that yeah, working for yourself to create your own stuff and make your own sales, it's a challenge because not only do you have the challenge associated with creating the art, but then you have the onus of selling your merchandise, and a lot of people just don't like to do sales. You know, it can be very hard as a creator to ask people for money to enjoy your work. I think there's a little bit of imposter syndrome at play a lot of times for that. But I think that if you can get past that and interact with the public, I think interacting with the public particularly does a lot to help with that. Conventions do me a world of good, not just in immediate sales, but also in just giving me the confidence to say, hey, we're doing this cool thing. If you want to participate, this is how you do it. This is what it costs, and this is what we're doing. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. A couple other things we're going to talk about tonight, man. We're going to be talking about. Let me get my list up here. I had to put my glasses on. Conversation I had, not just with the artist I'm talking about now, but parts of it I had with Brian Lee. And then after that, we're going to discuss a little bit about my meetings today with Damian Torres and Alexia Veldhausen. They were two individual meetings concerning other projects. I'm going to talk a little bit about them as artists because they're phenomenal. And then I'm going to get a little controversial, and we're going to say some things about unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns. But we are not going to be calling out anyone by name because I don't think that's right. If I was going to call out someone specifically, I would want them to be on the stream with me. Does that make sense? I would want them to be able to make their case. I would want them to be able to tell us why things were late or why things were unfulfilled, what happened, what went wrong. Not only so that they could have that chance to explain to the public at large, you know, as large as this audience gets. You know, I think the most we've ever had view a video, a live stream was 130 or something like that. So not exactly Coca-Cola numbers, but certainly numbers that I enjoy. But we're going to talk a little bit about that too. So definitely, you know, if you want to hang out, if you got questions or any comments, chime in. Love to hear from you, man. So I segued a lot, everyone. We'll get back on this. I was talking to, right? And so she had made comments about how she thought it was pretty unbelievable how you have AI generated books that are not only showing up on online sites, but they're also now showing up in bookstores. And I thought that was, you know, really kind of a natural progression of what we're seeing, because in a lot of cases, the public doesn't know, And in many cases, the public doesn't care if the article, if the item was generated by an artificial intelligence or not. Now, certainly, I think the writers and the artists care a lot, not just because it's their path in life and their craft, their profession, what have you, but I think also it has to do with the amount of effort that goes into it, right? So you put a lot of effort into writing, and then you go out into a very competitive field, and in the time that it took you to write a comic book, an AI did or more. In the time it takes you to write a novel, the AI may have written, 14, 15 volumes in a series. So there is certainly an element of, the more rapid iteration of product development when it's just wholly generated from the artificial intelligence. Now, there is a lot to be said about some of the nuances within copyright laws of various different nations and how that affects how you can effectively monetize your AI generated stuff. I personally, though, firmly believe in keeping arts and both graphic arts and literary arts firmly in the realm of humanity when it comes to your monetization. Because I think that writers and artists both deserve to have their work seen. And the other aspect, like I said, with regard to the AI generated stuff, is that it begins to proliferate so much content that it's really difficult for the human generated material to be seen. You don't really have to look much further than YouTube. YouTube has a number of channels that put out AI generated, written by the AI and then voiced by an AI, with thumbnails that are generated by AI. And so you can sit and listen to some of these and you'll see some inconsistencies. You'll hear some inconsistencies. And you'll rapidly come to see that a lot of times they just tell the same story, just swapping out roles, swapping out names. And very often, they'll use the same names, the same surnames or the same first names or a combination of both. I don't know what causes that precisely, whether it's a bias based on the sample or just a limitation of the artificial intelligence to generate character names. I don't know for sure, but it's certainly something that I've observed looking at content that I'm seeing generated by artificial intelligence. Now, whether or not that can be monetized, I think that certainly the platforms will monetize that. Whether or not they incorporate pay to the channel owners or holders or however you want to put them, the channel creators or whatever, I think that's another question. But if you have people who are putting together AI generated content and then putting them on, like I said, on YouTube, and they are not monetized, I think then that you will see a definite drop off in the amount of content. Now, the flip side to that is there's a lot of ways to sneak monetization in, right? You could take and tell a set of certain stories and use a generated thumbnail, and people will respond to it. And you say, okay, I'll take this, AI generated thumbnail and I will put it on a coffee mug or a T-shirt or a button or whatever. And then find a way to sell that, whether it be on Amazon or Etsy or what have you. Now, a lot of conventions that I've been to are banning AI generated content. But now I will also point out that a lot of these conventions also ban unlicensed use of intellectual property. But yet you still see people selling prints of different manga and anime characters, as well as certain Western titles, including titles from Disney and Paramount and Warner Brothers and a wide variety of things. People trespass on that all the time. And I'm not talking about the original art, the painting that's based on, or the drawing that's based on. I'm talking about the mass produced prints and whatnot that are definitely kind of call into question whether or not they're approved and licensed. So I'm not too terribly confident at this point with the ability of conventions to police AI generated content. Now, I'm aware of someone who was kicked out of a convention, but to be perfectly honest, they did dumb. They did dumb really well because they had generated art, and I guess it was freely generated, and then the prints they made had the watermark from the AI on the prints. So they kicked them out. And their stuff and their little stuffed dog Toto animal that they had sitting there for whatever reason kicked them right out. So it has happened. Whether or not it will continue to happen, I think will depend on how savvy those persons become and how much energy convention organizers can devote to disposing of that. And that's a very valid concern with regard, getting back to our original point from this student, is that she's coming headlong out of her education to compete in this environment in a field where a lot of companies have stopped commissioning artists. In a post on Facebook, uh, I think it was 2 weeks ago, John Stensman of Evangeline fame commented that he had lost half of his monthly revenue uh, suddenly when a client he worked for constantly, my impression was it was a regular production schedule, had notified them that they would no longer be using human artists because they were going over to AI generated images. I don't know any more of the story than that. Just to give you guys information on who that was or if they've made any other statements, I don't know. But that is a very real concern that artists are coming up with. And authors have had this concern for quite a long time. Realistically, I think that the AI generated art has really only become a threat to human artists in the last 20 months or so. Maybe full 2 years, but not much more than that because the art just wasn't really there. But with certain exceptions, there were some folks who um, I'm aware of that had generated images through AI and then had digitally painted over them. I guess as an aid or something like that. I don't know what their real need for the generated image was, but that's what they explained it to me. Um, Whereas authors, we've had AI generated stories and books for a few years longer than that. And so I think that a lot of people have just accepted that a lot of stories coming out are being generated by AI. We certainly see that in certain commentary circles where people are generating. Um, yeah, Dingus says, crazy how much better AI gets on a yearly basis. And the common phrase on that is, "This is as bad as it's going to be. It will only get better." And I think that's very very true. I think that there are use cases for AI. I just don't like them in the arts. I think that we can look forward to a future where we have AI driven humanoid robots in dangerous positions, dangerous jobs. So, for example, after the wars in Europe are done, I think we can see a good use for AI piloted anthropomorphic robots or tracked robots or robots of many different sorts in removing explosive ordnance and mines from former battlefields. I think that will save a lot of lives because late 1980s there were instances of children who and adults as well who were killed from unexploded ordnance detonating, and a lot of those were old mines from the Second World War. So mines that were laying around 40 years that no one had tripped, and then suddenly someone's walking in the woods and trips one off and they die from a war that happened well before they were even thought of. And it's tragic. It really is. It's tragic. But maybe we can get ahead and help stop stuff like that. Or, also things that one of the common ones I come up with is warehouse work. Now, I've worked in warehouses before. I know people who currently work in warehouses before. I don't know anyone who absolutely loves warehouse work. It's hard on your feet. It's hard on your knees. It's hard on your back. It's drudgery for the most part. And I think that if you had robots doing that, then you could definitely remove that human suffering. Now, those humans would need to find other work, certainly, just like a lot of artists and a lot of writers are finding other work now. Um, but me, I have an advantage, and I already had a day job. I've been at, but some people don't. People who and writing as their primary income source, they're competing against machines that can generate chapters in a minute or faster, whole books in less than time that it takes me to finish this sentence. It's just absolutely crazy how quickly that happens. I've had people who, what we got here? Lots of industries where AI will help out a lot, but at the end of they say in those fields it should be used as tools, not replacement. Exactly. Even in like surgical centers, they say that AI can be of tremendous use in helping to diagnose issues and to alert surgeons to certain complications that they may not readily see. AI used in particularly with neurological and brain surgeries to help finally control the surgical instruments that the surgeon is guiding, certainly. And then also space exploration. I think there's a lot to be said for robots in space exploration. SpaceX, for example, had said they were going to send robots to work on Mars eventually when they start sending ships to Mars, and I think that's very, very encouraging. Wow, that one, we ate up some time with the AI part just from that first story, didn't we? And to reinforce that, the part I was going to talk about from my discussion with Brian the other day, Brian, who creates Necroholic, right? And he's a designer at Vampire Freaks. He had made mention that a lot of other graphic design jobs were vanishing, due in part to people just deciding that they're going to use AI generated art in their design loops. So you've got companies, some of which have been in existence for decades, who are looking at cutting that human element out of their artistic element. And that's where I kind of cringe a little bit inside, right? I'm not a neo-Luddite, right? I don't hate technology. I utilize technology in various aspects of my life. I've mucked around and played with different AI stuff myself, but I don't monetize it. Okay. But now we're going to get some haters in here who, well, that might be optimistic. We could probably get some haters in here who say something, well, you're not even monetized on your little channel. That's true. But I've never been about trying to monetize my social media that much, right? I use this to promote our products and such. And this stream is largely about me just connecting with the people who help support us and who have been kind enough to bring Sonoma to where we are. So I'm just trying to do that. And then we'll get the Substack restarted here pretty soon, and we'll have that as well. So very, very cool. But Brian brings up some good points about that, because it's like you're trying to get into this field, and yet the existing population of graphic designers, their available jobs are shrinking. And so these folks who have, strong skill sets, years of experience in many cases, who know what they are doing, are being replaced from a tool that their manager or whoever they were reporting to earlier can say, okay, Grok, do this, or whatever other AI might be out there, right? Do this, and then when they don't like it, they just keep going and 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 keep going until they find something that's passable. Eventually, you're going to see these tool sets will evolve to where people will be able to directly critique individual elements. And we are also seeing tool sets that are coming out that are enabling people to create. And I know most of you have probably seen these AI generated short format films, right? Whether they're a minute, minute and a half, or whatever, stitched together scenes. They're getting better and better at being consistent on the characters and the scenery from one clip to the next. So that is going to be very difficult for certain industries to compete against. Ad agencies, I expect, will certainly turn to that to reduce their costs, maximize their profits. And maybe that's the key thing, right? People are looking to AI to cut out their costs, right? To accelerate their development, to maximize their profitability. Okay, I get it. But guys, there's more to life than money, you know? I've never been a rich man. I have struggled most of my adult life, right? For money, and money was never really important to me until one day like I said, I was rocking Willow to sleep, and I realized I needed to do something to leave them a legacy, and thus Sonoba was born. But can we really be in business and only seek to maximize our profits? When did it come about? Companies had to break records on their profitability every quarter, because there's absolutely no way that's a sustainable philosophy, right? How about you generate your profit, you take good care of your people so that they can make higher quality, as good quality, consistent quality, better quality products. You contribute to your society. And let me be clear about that for a second. When I say contribute to your society, there's a thing about when people have jobs that enable them to live with dignity, right? They, the people who are having jobs that allow them to live with dignity, they can contribute to their society in a number of ways. They pay taxes that help fund roads and schools and law enforcement. They have children who bring on the next generation to grow and expand the scope and knowledge of humanity. They learn as they grow, and they pass on knowledge to other people, other generations. Humanity builds history. And I think we matter, each and every one of us. So when I say feed the artist, don't feed the machine, that's an element of that. Warren, for example, Lunchbox Warren Brown, an artist I have just an absolutely tremendous amount of respect for. Even if he weren't my friend, I'd still maintain that level of respect, because I saw where he was years ago, and I saw him put in the hours and the effort, and he asked questions of other artists, and he looked at different resources, and he watched different resources, and he continually works and hones his craft. And Lunchbox Warren Brown has grown by leaps and bounds, refining his own style, expanding the scope of his own art, and generating things more beautiful day by day. It is a decidedly human trait to want to better our And he is an incredible example of that. An absolutely incredible example of that. You guys can clip that if you can buy it. So yeah, I worry for the artists. I do. But I'm going to do my part. We're going to put out Art by Humans later this year. We were going to do it last year, but then, we had a lot of calamity in my family. A lot of people died. And maybe that will help. We're going to put in links to the artists' social media pages so that people can find them more easily, right? And so maybe that will help them get commissions, personal activities, maybe help them get commercial jobs, whatever it does that helps, right? Because as a businessman, I want the artists I work with to be creating art. I don't want them, exhausted or injured from working in a factory or in a warehouse and then their abilities slip. I don't think there's anything anyone wants. And if you work in a factory or a warehouse, I'm not picking on you. I've done those jobs. I've done a lot of those jobs. But I've never been an artist. Writer, sure, but I've never been able to draw. I'm told it just takes years and years and years of practice. Maybe if I ever get to retire, I'll dedicate more time to it. Or maybe when Willow is grown, maybe I'll dedicate some time to it. The human artist is an important, culturally significant role. We should not let it perish. Okay? I'm beating that to death. So let's move on to our second topic, my discussions with artists today. So I had 2 artist meetings today. I had a meeting with Alexia Veldhausen. So we had, first off, we caught up a minute because after working together since 2017, Alexia and I have become pretty good friends. So I cheered her on because she's been working very hard to. First, she was working very hard to settle into her new place, and now that they are having to move, she is working to find a new place. And so we had some discussions regarding 47 Furious Tales issue 4. I am going to finish my revisions of the script and get that to her in June. So this coming month, don't have a lot of time. We get that to her. We're going to go ahead and get her paid for the editorial work ahead of time, right? And then she's already paid for 2 full pages. All right. So we're going to get 2 full pages done there. I'm going to pay for a couple more. I would like to get 6 or 8 pages done ahead of time. Would be where I'd like to be. So I'll have to make some more money, and we do that by convention appearances, online sales, royalties through drive-through, that kind of thing. But we'll get more money in and get her paid and get that on the way. With it being May, it is probably very unlikely that we can get the book done this year without a successful crowdfunding campaign. So we will have to crowdfund a significant amount of costs. And by that, I specifically mean for art, right? Art and lettering. Brian Lee does the lettering on 47 Furious Tales. Alexia does the art and coloring with Aisha Gulsanev doing the flats. So we have a pretty good system that we've used on this, but it's been a few years now, since we put out issue 3, given all the chaos we've been going through the last few years. But going to be good to get back into it. She's looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. And getting back into the production matters. Tangential note. This is something that's also important. The creation of the books that we make doesn't just help me build a legacy for the kids. It provides real income to the artists that we are commissioning. Okay? We pay our people. Period. In the statement. We pay them in real money because people die from exposure, right? So it is an important concept in the nature of our business that we are taking good care of the people who are elevating our work. My meeting with Damian Torres went very, very well. We went ahead and got him paid today for work he's doing on an artwork that we've commissioned. We have some very special uses in mind for this piece. We are doing what is essentially a Norman Rockwell style composition with Damian Torres's art style. Norman Rockwell was a fantastic artist. Damian Torres is a fantastic artist. He is not going to be drawing in Rockwell style. He will be drawing and coloring in his own. And as part of our contract today, I also bought the original line art. And I should actually have that sometime within the next 10 days. Pretty darn cool if you ask me. I love some original Damian Torres art, man. Damian Torres, Alexia Veldhausen, Tony Ojeda. Man, I love the work these guys put out. It's absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. Absolutely fantastic. But that was that. The key part about this is the conversation with your artist, right? Being able to discuss with them, lay out hard, fixed schedules, make sure that you're getting things lined up, make sure you know what your obligations are going to be in your contract, getting those together, and getting agreement. Contracts have particular elements, and the first is consent, this agreement between the two parties on what each party's role is, right? The second is the compensation element. What compensation is being exchanged for the products that are being produced, the actions that are being performed, the services are being rendered. And the third is the timeline. When, where, how these things will be done. When will it be turned in? What the mechanism is for, what the file format is. And you'll see this in different verbiage based on the type of service or product you're talking about, whether it be a painting or doing a custom detail job and paint job on a vehicle, or providing a service like painting a house or pouring a concrete slab or wiring up the basement. Whatever the case may be, you'll have these same elements: your consent, your compensation, and then your timeline. And there are, in whatever text you look at for the definition of contracts, they will use slightly different verbiage for each. That's completely fine, but that's it in a nutshell. And so the same it is when you're dealing with your artist. You need to have consent in the sense of, hey, yes, we're going to do this thing. This is how much we're going to get paid, your compensation. This is our timeline, your deadline, etc. Spelling that out in your contract, and one of the things I always advocate for use of contracts, is important because that lets everyone know what their obligations are. They can always fall back upon it. They have signed these, you understand it, and you go for it. I once had an artist who I actually no longer work with, who had signed a contract and sent it to me, and then blew right past his deadline. I couldn't get a hold of him, and he reached out to me and said, "Hey man, can I go ahead and get paid? I'm about to start on this work." I'm like, "Dude, you're 8 days past deadline. What are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, my deadline was in. It's in the contract." He's like, "Oh, I didn't read the contract." I'm like, "Then why did you sign it?" He put us in a very, very bad situation where we were going to end up being late for delivering a book on a crowdfunding campaign. So we terminated our contract with him, hired Alexia Veldhausen to do something else for us. Alexia delivered it in a timely manner under her new contract. And whereas he was, more than a week late, she delivered 2 days ahead of schedule. Really fantastic to see. So contracts are important, guys. So if you're working with your artist, definitely do that. We got about 12 minutes left, so I'm going to dive into the part of this that is probably the most controversial, and that is talking about unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns. Oh, boy. Okay. Like I said, we're not going to call anyone out on this. We have had a couple of campaigns that ran a bit late. One particularly that was very late was, and I say very late by my standards, it was a few months late, like 3 or 4 months late or something like that, was Death Comes to Glenfollow. We stayed in communication with our backers. We kept them updated on the progress. Basically, we had a stupid accident where I accidentally saved over the entirety of the print file. My Google Drive at the time was synced with the materials on my desktop through the settings we had set up, which was, in retrospect, a really bad idea, and saved over not only the save file locally, but saved over the saved file on the Google Drive. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. That was not smart. Still kick myself for that. I thought it was a neat little bit of electronic legerdemain, but bad idea all the way around. But this past couple of weeks, I've been seeing in my X feed, my Twitter feed, and on my Facebook feed and a few other places as well, people talking about unfulfilled comic book and role playing game crowdfunding campaigns. Now, I didn't know any of the people they were mentioning. I didn't know the stories behind there. I asked some questions. And that was a mistake because posting responses and asking for questions apparently told the algorithm that that was the kind of content I wanted to see, which is not the case. But suddenly, through the course of the week, dozens upon dozens of people proclaiming across Twitter/X and on Instagram and on Facebook that so and so is a year late, 2 years late, 3 years late on delivering different campaigns for comics, for role playing game books. One particular individual, he hadn't communicated with the backers since the campaign ended. My understanding is the campaign funded $12,000 and he just disappeared. That's pretty suspicious to me, if you ask me. I mean, so, but I want to tell you guys that unfulfilled crowdfunding campaigns are not the normal. Okay, they just aren't. They're not the normal. Um, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of creators in the comic book space, in the role playing game space, in the board game space that are routinely delivering their product to their backers to the best of their abilities. Now, sometimes those products may fall a little short of expectations. Sometimes they may be a little late. Like I said, we've had that happen a few times. Usually not much more than a week or so, but a couple of times it's been a little longer. But never a year, never 2 or 3 years, never going years and years and years without commenting, and certainly never refusing to refund someone who asked for one. It's crazy. So, for all of you who see this, if you've had a campaign that you have backed and they haven't fulfilled it and they haven't kept you up to date and they aren't responding to it, just know that that is not the normal. And I invite you, if someone's doing that, to seek getting a refund, because there are certainly dozens of other, if not hundreds of other creators who will be more than happy to deliver their product to you. And I'm even going to give you a few names, okay? The first one I'm going to mention is Madeline Holly Rossing. And to that end, I got comics. Now, Madeline also produces Boston Metaphysical Society, but she has recently been putting out Morgana Pendragon. This is a fantastic comic, guys. I have really enjoyed this. I'm fantastic. The writing is her usual, just terrific. I don't want to overuse fantastic. I'm bad about that in person. But I mean, she can tell a story, man. So yeah, as far as comics goes, Madeline Holly Rossing, Mike Shea who produces Miskatonic High, um, Larry Patrick Higgins who does Niobe. We can talk about the guys who do Stray Dogs. I forget what their name is right at the moment, but they deliver no problem at all. Dozens and dozens and dozens of fantastic creators, folks. Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda, fantastic about delivering just superb product. I mean, just wow. Billy Tushy. Now, Billy Tushy, he does just amazing work, as easy as some people breathe. And he and his wife Deb, they deliver. You know, I've never ever heard of anyone who pledged to one of Billy's projects not getting his book in a timely manner. Just absolutely fantastic. Adam Watson, who owns Dark Slinger Mafia and Comics Mainstream Distribution, just absolutely terrific about delivering on his crowdfunding campaigns. This is a normative kind of thing, right? And I'm going to also tell you this. Now, this is a gentleman I do not actually support his campaigns because he works in a genre I'm just not in, right? It's just not my thing. But his social media tag is Venger Satanis, and he does a lot with a adult themed role playing game, right? It has adult images in it. I've seen some of those on his crowdfunding campaigns, but I will tell you, you look at his crowdfunding campaigns on Kickstarter, and he routinely delivers, and his fan base is well taken care of. You don't see people complaining in his comments. You don't see people deriding him on social media for not delivering because he makes his deliveries. Okay. I have a lot of respect for him as a creator because of that. And to be perfectly honest, I've had only a handful of engagement with him over the last 9 years. But every single time, he's been a complete professional. No dramatic nonsense, no faux outrage, just a complete professional. I have a lot of respect for that. So if you have pledges out there that haven't fulfilled, reach out to the creator. And if they are not keeping you updated and they're not delivering, yes, actually, that's a good one, Dingus. Let me go grab that, man. Hold on a second. We're going to go to Kickstarter and we're going to show you some of these folks. That's a good thing. I really doing. I'm so surveys I need to do. Oh well, that's cool. So we're going to start with Boston Metaphysical Society. That is Madeline Holly Rossing. So what we're going to do is we're going to link you guys to her creator information so you can follow her there. Okay. So this first one, Madeline Holly Rossing, creator of Morgana Pendragon and Boston Metaphysical Society. Okay. We're then going to go to Mike Shea with Miskatonic High. Mike's a good guy too. Not only is he just a wonderful creator, and I think he's now on like issue 30 or something because they just did another trade, right? Because he's been putting out stuff just constantly over the years. Absolutely fantastic creator, Mike Shea, everybody. We're gonna do Jimmy Palmiotti. Would help if I actually put it in the search bar. Where are you, Jimmy? Well, it's not going. Oh, that's right. He has his under his company name. What is Jimmy's company name? I tell you what. Follow him on X/Twitter. You can find him there. I'm going to see if I can find his company name there real quick because I forget that that's what they actually launched theirs under. So let me go find that real fast for you guys. Sorry about that. I should know it. I've backed a lot of their campaigns over the years. Paper films. Damn it, I should have known that. I've backed a lot of their campaigns over the years, just like I've backed a lot of Madeline's and a lot of Mike's. Paper films. Is it as... Yeah, I think it's one word. Okay, let's try that. Killer Jane, Jim Palmiotti. All right, here we go. Paper films. So this is for Jimmy Palmiotti, guys. Really, really great guy. My understanding, he's been in of course, he's worked for Marvel for years, of course, as well as for himself. Him and his wife Amanda. She's an incredible talent by any metrics. And then Avenger Satanas. I don't know when the last time he put something out was. Oops, I just screwed up. I left Kickstarter. I don't want to do that. Here it is. Avengers Satanas. There he is. Like I said, I don't know when his last project he created was, but he's created 31 different projects so far. So he's actually done more crowdfunding campaigns on Kickstarter than I have, and that's saying a lot. And then Dark Slinger. Okay. And Dark Slinger is Adam Watson's comic imprint. I know he's got some stuff in the works right now that we should be seeing here, I think, later this year, if not early next year. But he also does, he's also set up comics mainstream distribution and is distributing comics in the northwestern United States. So for example, he distributes our books into marijuana dispensaries, liquor stores, gas stations, toy stores, comic shops. We get monthly payment for the sales from the month prior, and we've been doing this for several years at this point. In fact, I actually need to ship him some more books now I think about it, because I think he's almost out of a couple of them. But you get the idea. Really fantastic people. Someone else that I think we should probably mention. See if I can find him. Goth Day. Tom Hutchinson. Tom is a machine. Tom has been doing this for God only knows how many years. Tom's been making comics. I mean, he's been making comics since, I believe, the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. But his crowdfunding, his crowdfunding is absolutely on point. He's done comics, more comics, more and more and more comics from a bunch of different titles he's created, working with fantastic artists. And he also did an action figure one time. Just fantastic man. And he's a very friendly fellow. Very, very friendly fellow. And then there's a few other people I should probably mention too, but maybe we'll do that on on next week's show to bring attention to some other creators. I am going to self-promote a little bit while I'm here. I am going to... Where am I? I'm going to go to my profile. So guys, if you're not already following us on Kickstarter, this is the Kickstarter account. I'll get it out eventually, that we use for our comic books, right? And then we have another one we use for our role playing game books. I'll go ahead and start sharing that out when we're getting ready to release our next RPG book. But we're doing a lot of comics and of course Art by Humans magazine this year, definitely. So follow us there so that you can go ahead and take and enjoy that. And then we have in the chat we have the link to our mystery box themed there it is right there. It's a PayPal link. You pay there, and then we will box up your stuff and go ahead and ship you 3 human-made art prints. We're going to vary these, so it is very much a mystery box kind of thing. This in the United States and the U.S. territory. Outside of the U.S. and the territories, I didn't have a way to do this directly here. So if you are seeing this and you're in Canada or Mexico or Europe or Japan or wherever you may be, just drop me a message in whatever social media platform you're seeing this, and we will put it together once we figure out what your shipping costs are. Okay, because this already has the Kentucky sales tax factored into it because I have to charge that, and then also the shipping costs. So big deal. All right. Well, folks, it is 10:04. We're a little over the hour we usually go. So I just want to remind you all real quick, wherever you are, do take care of yourself. Stay hydrated. I'll get the words out. If you have medications you have to take, please do take them correctly. Get some time outside to enjoy the sunshine or the rain or the weather. Tell those that you love and who love you what they mean to you. It's important in holding those relationships together in your life. And please remember, in a world where you can choose to be anything, please choose to be kind. Again, I'm Sam Quinton with Sonoma Publishing right here in Frankfort, Kentucky. I want to thank you all for watching. Huge thanks to the Dingus Den for hanging out with us. Always appreciate the activity and interaction. Everyone go check out Lunchbox Warren Brown. I think he's streaming on YouTube. No, is he streaming on YouTube tonight, or is he streaming on Facebook, or all three? I think he's on Twitch too, right? So yeah, Lunchbox Warren Brown, creator of Sig and Joe, which is a fantastic comic. I love that thing. Guys, make sure you do that and check out the Dingus Den YouTube channel. Those guys are